Chapter 57, Wheeljack. There was an entry request at Perceptor's door. It was early afternoon, and he and I were sitting at the table, having some energon. Perceptor got up to go answer the door and I expanded my range to discover that it was Wheeljack outside, and that he was very worried about something. Wheeljack. Worried. I listened closely to his thoughts as Perceptor let him in and invited him over to the table. By the time the two of them entered the room, I was worried as well. So, Perceptor sat down at the table. Do you want some energon? No thanks. Wheeljack shook his helm and crossed his arms. Is everything all right? He looks a little unsettled. Wheeljack shuttered his optics. Perceptor. What? Perceptor looked up at him. It's just, Perceptor, I don't know what to do. Perceptor pulled out a chair. Why don't you sit down and explain to me what's got you so worked up? Wheeljack forced himself to sit and took a deep vent. Okay, he said. Okay, well, you know my spark energy research. Yes. I thought it had been progressing well. Have you hit a dead end somewhere? No, it's going great. It's just, well, some mecha came to me just a drawer or so ago. They were from the Council, the Department of Security, and... Oh, Primus. This Meckling, are they shutting you down? No. He should have picked a less. Wait, then what do they want? They want me to, well, they want me to develop weapons using my research. Perceptor stared. Weapons. Did I hear that right? What? Wheeljack took a deep vent. They want guns that kill every time because they shut your spark off. They probably want bombs that could wipe out entire cities. You could make them. I didn't think about it until now, but most of what I'm working on at this point is how to make this safe to use in medical equipment, and you wouldn't need to do that if you were just making weapons. Perceptor started thinking through the implications and consequences of that. Did they say what they want them for? No, I didn't ask. I told them I didn't invent this so I could make weapons with it. He buried his faceplate in his hands. But then they threatened to have me thrown out of the academy, and when I told them that I'd rather leave the academy than make weapons for them, they told me if I wasn't willing, then they'd take my research and... By the Allspark, Perceptor looked down at the table. This is very bad. They'll make me disappear, Wheeljack said. Won't they? Did you say anything else after they threatened you? Yes, Wheeljack said. I wanted them to leave, so I told them I'd do it, but I can't. What if they use that on someone? I don't want my research to kill anyone. I'm such an idiot. This happens every time. Everything I make blows up in my faceplate because I don't think through the consequences. Of course this could be weaponized. Okay, good, Perceptor said. Have you talked to Shockwave or Alpha Trion? They're both on the council. I sent a message to Shockwave, Wheeljack said, telling him the basics of what happened, and that I'd be here if he wanted to talk in person. Perceptor nodded. We'll have to move before the council does. I can destroy my research, Wheeljack said quietly. I can destroy all of it so they can't use it. Do you think I should do that? It might become necessary, Perceptor said grimly. For now, let's not make any rash decisions until we've gotten in contact with Alpha Trion or Shockwave or someone who... There was another entry request at the door. Both Perceptor and Wheeljack jumped, but I reached out and found that it was only Shockwave. Stay in here, Perceptor said, and went to answer it. He came back with the senator. Wheeljack, Shockwave was worried enough that he almost couldn't feel amused. Why? I'm sorry, Wheeljack stood up. I didn't mean for this to happen. I'm so sorry. I never imagined they'd want to. Shockwave crossed the room and embraced him. It's not your fault. It's okay. It's not okay, Wheeljack said. Do you think it's possible to do what they asked? Shockwave released his friend and held him at arm's length. Not just possible, Wheeljack said. It would be really easy. My research has progressed beyond the point I'd need to make weapons. I don't think they know that, but if they had anyone else look over it, I couldn't just pretend to do the research for them, Shocky, if that's what you're suggesting. Okay, Shockwave said, stepping back. Do you think they'd take my research? Yes, Shockwave said. Can you destroy it? I'm sorry about all that work you did. Don't worry, Wheeljack said. It's worth it to get rid of it. Good, then, Shockwave said. Get rid of it. I can't believe they'd want. It's a clear breach of the laws to force anyone to make weapons for them. If I can expose this, he shuttered his optics. I feel so old and tired already. I'm not even 7 forns old and already I feel ancient. It also might be in your best interest to disappear. No, let me rephrase that. You are going to disappear, so if you don't want the council to make you disappear, you'll have to go on your own terms. If they do catch you, I'll find you and get you out, but that'll be a hassle, and I'll lose ground with the council. Not as if I'm not already losing ground. Slag it, platform, why couldn't you have just been a little more careful? Where should I go? Wheeljack asked. That can't be up to me, Shockwave said. If they find evidence that I'm helping you hide from them, I'm going to be in a whole heap of trouble. Surely you can find a way on your own. We have that ground bridge. Now might be a good time to use it. I'm suddenly glad we didn't dismantle it. Public transportation's a bad idea, but you might find an alternative in Perceptor's basement. Wheeljack nodded. The ground bridge, of course. I can go anywhere, we just need to find somewhere safe. Things haven't been going well with the council, have they? Perceptor asked quietly. No, Shockwave said. In fact, if you'll count Helms, we're one short as of Elastic Cairn, and I don't think he's on vacation. He was the only one besides Alpha Trion who was speaking out more strongly than I am for social change. Now I'm at the head of that. I certainly hope I'm not next on their hit list. I don't want to think about where they sent him. I almost can't believe that place is real. I can't stay long. Paradigm is covering for me, saying I left some important information on a datapad in my office, and I have to run back to the council hall before they get too suspicious. Wheeljack nodded and then looked down. Oh, Allspark, Wheeljack, I'm so sorry. I thought I'd be able to stop this sort of thing from happening. I feel almost more helpless than I did before. It's okay, it's not your fault either, Wheeljack said. Thank you so much for coming. Be sure to disappear before the Orn is out. They won't give you much more time than that. Also, is your research secure, or can they access it? I mean, if they went in and took my computer, they'd be able to take it. Then you'd better move quick. Shockwave vented a sigh. Take care of yourself. We might not see each other for a while, so good luck. Wheeljack nodded, and they embraced each other again. Good luck with the council. Thank you. Shockwave pushed away, trying in vain to fight back the worry, drowning his emotional core. I also felt an echo of Paradigm's comfort and sympathy through his bond with her. I really do have to go. He turned and walked away, and Wheeljack shuttered his optics, still frightened and now miserable as well. He was going to have to disappear. Alright, Perceptor said once Shockwave was gone. Soundwave, would you please go with Wheeljack and make sure he's successful in destroying all of his research? I'll go down to the basement and make sure the ground bridge is working. We'd better not talk about that out loud, though, just in case Wheeljack's bugged or something. I doubted that, but I nodded anyway, and Wheeljack and I left the house. He didn't know it, but I would be able to tell if anyone was sneaking up on us or trying to hack into his research. I expanded my range because this was important. This was Wheeljack's freedom, possibly his life, and maybe even the lives of many at stake, so I could afford a little processor ache. We crossed campus quickly with Wheeljack jumping at every shadow and made it to his cluttered little research lab. I'd been here before, to help him occasionally with computer troubles, and I always wondered how he managed to work with all of this mess. Empty vials, spare parts, piles of datapads, and empty cubes of energon were strewn across the desks. Blueprints and holographic sketches were displayed all over the walls, and there were bins full of odds and ends, some of them probably dangerous, stacked in the corners and under the counters and desks. He shared this space with one other student, who was doing his own research, but that mech was rarely here, and didn't seem to care about the mess. Okay, Wheeljack said, bringing his computer online. I have everything stored here, one backup on a datapad, and one backup on a little data stick. I might keep the data stick, just in case I need the research later, but I'll take that with me, and make it so if anyone tampers with it, it'll destroy itself. You could do that with coding. But he probably had something more along the lines of a small bomb in mind. Either was effective, but his way was a whole lot messier. He brought up the files on his computer. Didn't I have you set this up so that anything changed on this computer would also automatically change on my datapad? I nodded, an idea forming in my processor. Wheeljack. Yeah. We could replace the data with fake data. Wheeljack tilted his helm to the side, then raised an optic ridge. And let them spend a cairns trying to get past the firewalls you put up on this thing, then decrypt everything only to find that none of it is useful. I nodded. I kind of like that idea, Wheeljack said, getting up from his computer. Go for it. Delete it from the datapad, it's backed up on, I said, as I sat down and got to work. Wheeljack deleted the files from his personal datapad, and then crashed the datapad, just to make sure, while I replaced all of his data with randomly generated numbers, and all of his research notes with magazine articles about interior decorating that I found on the public servers. Wheeljack looked over at what I was doing and smiled, though he was a little too shaky to laugh. He then pulled out the memory stick with his research backed up on it. Do you think I shouldn't keep this? What if someone does find it? I shrugged. It was his decision. He stuck it back into subspace, telling himself he'd decide later when he was a little more in control of his emotions. It took me a while to finish, especially since I had to be absolutely certain the computer hadn't backed up his work anywhere else. Then I got up and turned the computer off. Wheeljack hesitated in the doorway, looking back at the room that was essentially his life. Yes, it was messy, I realized, but it was also very lived in and full of personality. This was probably going to be the last time Wheeljack ever saw this room, and he did not feel ready to leave it. I waited for him. Listening to him try to decide whether to bring anything with him. Then he turned the lights off and left it all. I want a few things from my apartment to take with me, he said. Can we stop there for a bream? I nodded, and we started across campus again, though in a different direction. When we got in range of his apartment, I could hear that there were mecha there, waiting for him. I stopped. He continued on a few steps, and then noticed and turned around. What? I think, maybe we'd better not. Why? Wheeljack asked. I expanded my range so I could hear them a little better. What if the air or mecha were waiting for you there? Like government. I nodded. He hesitated. I don't know how likely that is. 100% likely. I waited for him to decide whether he was worried enough or not. If need be, I could make something up about hearing or seeing something suspicious, or just bodily drag him back to Perceptor's house. If it became absolutely necessary, I could explain my abilities to him, though I would rather not do that. Okay, he said. You might be right. I don't really need anything. I probably shouldn't use my account to buy anything either. Primus, how am I going to get energon, wherever I'm going? We would work that out once we got to Perceptor's house. We turned and walked the other way. It wasn't a long walk, and the sun dome was reflecting light down onto us, but it felt as dangerous as a dark alley in the middle of the off-cycle, and by the time we got there, I had a moderate processor ache and was nearly as jumpy as Wheeljack. I made my range shrink to the point where I could hear the outside of the house, but not the next house over, or the other side of the street. Come in, Perceptor said, and beckoned us through the door that led down to the basement. There, he used a scanner on Wheeljack to check for tracking or bugging devices. So, he said, once he was satisfied the mech was clean. Question, Soundwave, have you ever made a fake ID? No, I said. Neither have I, Perceptor said. But we might need to. Wheeljack, I think the best way to do this would be for you to disappear and get a job somewhere out of the city. Nothing too fancy, maybe a factory worker or low-end mechanic of some sort. It'll be boring work, but it'll keep you alive. We'll need to set up a fake ID and credit account, and find you a job. I could figure out how to do it, I said. I knew some of my classmates had done that sort of thing before. It shouldn't be too hard to ask them about it. Perceptor nodded. Of course, I want you somewhere safe as soon as possible, in case they come looking for you here. And we'll want to use the ground bridge because we could hide you here, but if they come looking and find the bridge, it will get taken away and then we won't be able to get you out. Where am I going? Wheeljack asked. I don't know, Perceptor said. Any ideas, Soundwave? I had been all over the planet when I had been younger. I hadn't gone to every city, but I'd been to many of the larger ones. Go to Polyhix. It was big, industrial, and full of crime and the like. If I could get someone a fake ID and credit account anywhere, it would be in Polyhix. Perceptor unsubspaced a datapad and pulled up a map of Polyhix. Soundwave, go get some energon cubes we can send with Wheeljack so he won't starve while we're trying to get him a job. I'll give you a code with one of my credit accounts on it. You can use it to buy board in a hotel until you can find somewhere to live. Hopefully they won't go so far as to track my account. Thank you, Wheeljack said as I left to get the energon. I could still hear the conversation, of course, because they were still in my range. I want you to change your comm codes and frequencies too. If you tell them to me, we'll be able to get in touch with you. Should I tell Soundwave also? I'll pass it along to him. Won't need to, actually. I gathered some energon cubes from the cupboard and brought them down to Wheeljack. He started carefully subspacing them while Perceptor picked some coordinates where there weren't likely to be any mecha watching, and then turned the ground bridge on. Here, Wheeljack said, having finished with the energon cubes. I'll help put in the coordinates, this thing's a little different from your typical ground bridge. He and Perceptor worked out the bridge while I contacted one of my acquaintances from my classes and asked him if he knew how to make a fake ID. Of course, I already knew that he did know and had done it before, but just for fun. I also knew that he was not particularly pleased with the government because they had made one of his friend's creators disappear when he was in secondary school. He'd almost certainly be willing to help and keep this quiet if I explained the situation to him. Okay, Perceptor said. I think the coordinates are set right. Wheeljack took in a deep vent and let it out slowly. Okay, well, goodbye, I guess. Primus, this is really fast. Perceptor nodded. But we'll keep in touch. Stay safe, Wheeljack. I can't believe this is happening. Just at the beginning of the Orn, I had no idea. You'll be okay, Perceptor seemed to sense how frightened Wheeljack was. And maybe if Shockwave and Alpha Trine can sort this out, you can come back, so don't give up completely on that. Wheeljack nodded, looking nervously at the ground bridge. I have no idea what to do once I go through that bridge. I guess I find somewhere to stay for the off-cycle, but I don't want to do this. Maybe we're overreacting. I was pretty sure we weren't. Well, he said. I guess I had better go, hadn't I? If the government threatened to make you disappear, we don't want to take any chances, Perceptor said. Go on. I'll be in touch soon. Wheeljack nodded again, more confidently this time. See you. Tell Ratchet, Shocky, and Orion that I'm okay. I nodded. I'd pass along the message. He walked through the bridge. Perceptor checked to make sure it read that he'd come out the other side, then shut it down and covered it again with a tarp. I felt his worry as he shuttered his optics and put a hand to his faceplate. I don't like this at all. What are they making weapons for? Do they want to try to quell that foolish rebellion in the south? Should we warn someone about that? Will they find something else now that they can't get Wheeljack and his research? Or will they keep looking for him? I need to talk to Alpha Trine about this. Poor Wheeljack, he seems so frightened. What is Trine doing? He's supposed to be keeping the council in line, and now this happens. Shockwave can't do this by himself. Primus, he looks so tired and worn down, he's never stopped working too hard, has he? Perceptor looked up at me. Soundwave, are you listening to my thoughts? I nodded. Please don't, not right now. I need to ponder a few things that I've tried not to think about around you. Alpha Trine can't possibly be letting this happen on purpose, can he? I nodded. Few mecha could keep secrets from me, and fewer could keep them from me when I wasn't letting them. But Perceptor knew a lot of supposedly dangerous things that he didn't think I ought to be let in on, and I honored his desire to leave me out. I pulled my range back and went to my room to sit with my symbiotes and worry. We were about halfway through a term, my second to last term in school, actually. What's going on? Ravage asked, somehow sensing that I was upset. Wheeljack's in trouble, I said. You remember him? They all nodded. Is he hurt? Frenzy climbed up onto my desk to ask me. No, but he's in danger, and he needed to leave. Someone wanted him to use his research for something bad, and now he has to run away, or they might try to hurt him. Oh, Frenzy said, then glared. We ought to go find them and show them what's what. I shook my helm. If only we could. I bet Searchlight could, Frenzy thought. I wish he was still here. He'd be brave enough. Brave and stupid enough. And then he'd just get killed again. I sat down with a sigh, and Ravage leapt up into my lap, then onto my shoulders. You're worried, aren't you? Ravage asked. Do you think he'll be okay? I reached up to stroke Ravage. I hope he is. It's not just him I'm worried about. We're all in danger if this sort of thing can happen. I guess we've all been in danger our whole lives, it's just that was another side effect of having so many friends who were so good. Good mecha didn't survive in this world. At least Wheeljack wasn't dead. He would be all right. He was smart and resourceful, he would pull through. But I couldn't stop worrying. The next Orn, I went and met with my classmate, who could make fake IDs. I explained the situation to him, and he was completely sympathetic, and promised to help and to keep it a secret. I was grateful for his honesty and willingness, but I told him all he needed to do was teach me how to do this. I didn't want to put anyone else at risk by getting them involved. It took all the rest of the Orn to get Wheeljack's ID ready, because I wanted to do it right and make it truly untraceable. I couldn't go back and bring Searchlight back, but I could do everything in my power to make sure my other friends were as safe as possible. Orion and Ratchet were both at Perceptor's house when I came home. I joined them in the front room. Hello, Soundwave, Orion said. Perceptor told us about Wheeljack. I nodded. He said you were working on getting him a fake ID. Ratchet said. Can you even do that? Don't you realize that's illegal? I sighed and sat down. It's illegal, yes, Orion said, feeling a little uncomfortable about it. I wonder if there's a better way. Surely we could work something out that didn't break any laws. For the most part, the laws are good and are there for good reasons. Not that it really matters in this case, Ratchet said. Because Wheeljack didn't do anything wrong, besides being stupid, and if we don't do this, then he could be punished for refusing to make weapons. What the pit does the government think it's doing? I shrugged. So did you get the ID? Ratchet asked. I nodded. It was all set up. I'd even transferred a little credit into his account from mine, because he'd need to start somewhere. I wanted to ask where Perceptor was, but then Orion thought about how he'd gone out and said he'd come back in a few breams, so I waited with them. Perceptor came in half a bream later. Oh, good, Soundwave. You're here, he said. Have you finished? I nodded. Everything's ready, and I have instructions for you to send him. I pulled out a datapad and handed it to Perceptor. Let's go down into the basement, Perceptor said. We'll put him on an open comm device so we can all talk to him. We went down the stairs and sat in a circle on the basement floor while Perceptor set up the comm and called Wheeljack. He answered and we heard his voice through the device on the floor between us. Hi, Professor, he said. Is everything okay? Yes, Perceptor said. Things are fine. Soundwave, Ratchet, and Orion are here, and we're on a speakercom. So you can talk to them as well. I'm sorry Shockwave couldn't come, he was too busy, and he thought it might look suspicious in any case if he came here. He didn't want them to start watching my house. Okay, Wheeljack said. Well, hi everyone. How are you? Orion asked. I'm doing okay, Wheeljack said. I'll be alright, I think. We probably shouldn't talk to you very often, Perceptor said. In fact, this might have to be the last time for a while, just in case they start monitoring my communications. I talked to Shockwave, and he says they're already looking for you, and he hasn't been able to do anything to stop it yet. Okay. Wow, they were serious about those weapons, weren't they? I think they're more worried about the fact that you slipped away without them knowing, and also that you have evidence that could implicate them. They threatened you. If you show up and testify against them, they could be forced to do a full investigation. Oh, should I try to do that then? No, Shockwave thinks the most likely scenario if you tried would be that they catch you and none of us would ever see you again. He'll deal with the legal problems. I will get in contact with you if things work out so you can come back here, but otherwise, you should stay where you are. Have you started looking for jobs? Yeah. It shouldn't be too hard to find one if I have an ID. Soundwave's got an ID for you, Perceptor said. Thank you. Wheeljack said. You're welcome. I put in, quietly, because a nod wouldn't go through the comm. Yeah, Wheeljack said. There's an explosives factory that's hiring. It mostly makes charges and stuff for mining, so I'm not worried that I'll still be making weapons for the government, but I don't know, I'm good at that sort of thing. That's great, Orion said. Perceptor and Ratchet looked at each other. Perceptor said. You slagging idiot, Ratchet said. You'll probably end up blowing the whole building up. Yeah, I know, Wheeljack said. But hey, I can at least get hired and make a few credits before that happens, enough to live off of for a little while until I can find another job. He was joking, I hoped. Well, Perceptor said. I have some instructions that Soundwave's given me, do you want me to read them out to you? Yes, please, Wheeljack said. He did, while we all listened and Ratchet wished he could get back to studying. Then, when he was finished, he asked if Wheeljack had understood all of it. Yes, Wheeljack said. Thank you all again for helping me. I really do have the best friends. I know you all don't know me that well, except maybe Perceptor. Could you tell Shockwave that I'm doing okay and thanks for all his help? And also to take a break once in a while. He and Paradigm are going to work themselves to death at the rate they're going. I'll pass along the message, Ratchet grumbled. Every time I see him. Okay, thanks again. See you next eventually, I hope. Bye. The line went dead. Well, that's that, Perceptor said quietly. I doubt we'll hear from him for a while. It'll probably hit Shockwave more than anyone else, but he has Paradigm taking care of him, so he ought to be alright. This shouldn't have to happen, Orion said. I know, Perceptor sighed. Believe me, I know this shouldn't happen, but you wouldn't believe the number of times it has. Someone ought to do something, Orion said. Ratchet looked up. You know. He spoke in a surprisingly soft tone. That's what Searchlight would have said. Well, he would have been right, Orion said. There's only so far we can go before we have to stand up and fight. I would caution you to be careful, Perceptor said. I have helped several friends like I helped Wheeljack, and I'm still here because I keep my helm down. It doesn't feel good to roll over and take it, but if you stand up, then you make yourself a target. I wouldn't want you to get hurt, Orion. And I know you wouldn't want Ratchet and Soundwave to get hurt standing with you. If enough mecha stand up, the target analogy doesn't work, Orion said. But you're right. We would have to be careful. I won't stop thinking about it, though. This sort of thing, it's disturbing. The government shouldn't have this much power, it's not right. Perceptor nodded. I appreciate all you've done, Orion said. Working quietly under the radar. I'm not saying I don't value that, but I feel like I'm eventually going to have to move beyond that. Well, Ratchet said. When you do, let me know, because I'm with you. He stood and walked away. We watched him climb the stairs until he was out of sight. How about you, Soundwave? Orion asked. I'll think about it, I told him. Thanks. I should get back to the Hall of Records. Let me know if anything else happens. Perceptor nodded. I will do that, thank you. Orion left as well. Perceptor sighed. Well, that was stressful. I'm going to go work in my lab for a while. You're welcome to join me if you don't have too much homework. I did have a lot of homework because I'd been working on Wheeljack's ID all morning, but I thought Perceptor probably needed some company, so I went to help him instead.